Hello, my name is Jake Boudreau. Welcome to part 4 of the Almadam Experience, Full Steam Ahead. This show will illustrate exactly how Development Almadam took from community feedback, the GTA Consultants Report, and the final report of the EIS Committee, and saw opportunities in the sectors of tourism, a renewed fisheries, aquaculture, small-scale manufacturing, and information technology. We will look at how DEMA is implementing this plan for the betterment of all Almadam. We will talk to the people of Almadam to see what hopes and what aspirations they have for the island in the 21st century. With much attention to their strategic plan, which was influenced by community consultation and the reports of the GTA consultants and the EIS committee, DEMA continues to pursue opportunities in tourism, aquaculture, a renewed fisheries, small-scale manufacturing, and information technology. It is in these areas where the greatest potential for sustained economic growth exists. One of Almadam's biggest assets is its unspoiled charm and beauty, both in our scenery and culture. Before tourism can produce economic benefits, more infrastructure must be created to facilitate this process. Although the idea of boutique tourism is abstract, when applied to Almadam, it is feasible and has the potential to grow. Greg Silver came to Cape Breton and noticed what was missing from our tourist industry. His idea for wooden boats tours has the potential to further enhance tourism on Almadam's north side.
The trials and tribulations I went through years ago when I wanted to come sailing in Cape Breton, it was difficult for me to find a boat to charter. Now there were charter companies, but it was a little bit difficult to do. It wasn't all that well organized. So I thought, well, I know there are lots of people like me who will visit Cape Breton or would like to visit Cape Breton. They'd love to sail in the Bredor Lakes and the Lennox Passage, but the businesses just aren't there. Unless you have a personal connection, it's very hard to find a boat to go out on. Large sailboats, as you know, the ones that we see advertised for charter cruising in the Caribbean and in places like the North Channel and the Great Lakes and so on, are expensive boats to have. And our season here is very short, so it's difficult to provide those kind of boats and make a business out of it. So my idea was, well, smaller boats for camp-style cruising, where you go out, your boat is basically the thing that you travel around in and poke around the shore on. So you want a small boat that's shallow draft. You're not necessarily interested in long-term trips. You might be going for a few days or a week, so you can suffer and live aboard a small boat. So that's where my idea came from. As a result, we're putting 4 boats into charter service this summer in a very special way. They're aimed at people who are probably not boat owners, may not even be experienced sailors, but have a love of sailing, and maybe they sailed as young people. So we're going to make these small, very easy to handle boats available to go on flotilla cruises. And what that means is we put an experienced captain in charge of a fleet. Everyone gets in their own boat and follows along, and we head off on little trips of 1 to 3 days, and we do some interpretation, some sightseeing. We'll eat some wild food that we've caught, whether we're picking clams from the beach or checking in with the local lobsterman at the wharf. We're going to eat fresh local food. We're going to see the hawks and the eagles and the fish and the wildlife and the beautiful beachside, along-shore environment. And we're going to do it all in small, traditional wooden boats. We have 4 boats from 17 feet to 22 feet long. And that's small compared to the big cruisers you see out here, which are often 26, 27, 30, up to 40 feet long, or bigger, if they're from New York. But the boats are very comfortable. They sleep 2 people in comfort. They provide cooking facilities, toilet facilities, and lots of room to stretch out. And the boats are designed along the lines of what's called a Cape Cod catboat. That was a boat that was popular in the middle of the 19th century on the East Coast for single-handed fishermen. So they hold a lot. You know, they had to carry a lot of lobster and fish in those days. Now they carry your camping gear and your food and your beer and your toys. They're very stable. and they're very simple to operate. One large sail that one person can operate, so it's very easy sailing.
DEMA is also in the process of developing the Cape Auguste area as an eco-trail, since Richmond County has no developed trail. The trek is coastal, taking a few hours to walk from the Cape Auguste Lighthouse to Boudreauville. The trail has a unique landscape and is a natural habitat for unique types of plant, animal, and aquatic life. The strongest feature of the trail is its rich cultural history, containing remnants of settlements, prayer sites, and 18th century French-style boundary lines.
The Eco Trail in Cape Auguste is really, I think, the main infrastructure, tourism infrastructure development that we could do on the island. It's a trail that offers everything to everyone pretty much when it comes to ecotourism. When you go to the trail, for the people that had an opportunity to go over the trail, it offers so many things. It offers history, it offers beautiful scenery, it offers scientific wonders from the flora there to the ecology. It offers sights of that you really can't see in other places. You can see whales below your feet out there. You can see all kinds of wildlife and marine life out there right along the trail. It's a trail that really offers so many things. So often you find trails that have one big thing for them. It's if you go to the Highlands, you're up hundreds and hundreds of feet, but that's all they offer. But out there's so many things with the history. There's settlements and ruins out there of an old Acadian village, and so it has things for everyone, like I said. And the coastal trail that goes out there is approximately 4.5 hours long. It goes from the site of the Clearwater processing plant to the site of where the old Richmond Fisheries used to be. So it kind of gives some more opportunity there to build on that theme, on the coastal theme and the fishing theme. The fact that you're going from the Clearwater site, which is the largest lobster holding facility in the world, at one end, and then you finish the end of the trail at the site of where Richmond Fisheries once stood. And so it's kind of a little bit of irony, but it really has a lot for people to learn from and take from. So I think it's a trail that we can build in phases and build up over time, so that in 4 to 5 years, I think you'll really see a lot of benefit, especially from the ecotourism side of things coming from the trail, if it can be promoted well and maintained, and if people can buy into it.
We really feel this project has a lot of opportunity. First of all, there is no trail system within Richmond County that you can promote. We have a need to lengthen the visitor stay here on Ilma Dam. And we have a need to help visitors get out of their car, feel the sense that the environment and the natural environment here are, and also the culture and the history. And through this trail and what we're proposing, we feel that we'll be able to do that. The trail is about a 4 or 5 hour track, and this in a sense will actually enhance what the other tourism operators are doing. So we're working hand in hand with Sport and Recreation, through the municipality, Richmond Tourism, Tourism Ilma Dam, to work on this project, and we're hopeful that we'll actually have some activity out there come the spring.
DEMA has been successful securing the necessary funding for the Eco Trail. The planning phase has addressed community partnerships, land ownership, identification of assets and attractions, the physical layout, construction designs, interpretive signage, marketing research, funding partnerships, costs, and upkeep. The same process is in place to redevelop the grounds around the Lenoir Forge Museum in Arishat.
What we're proposing to do is to take the area around the Lenoir Forge and the former Irving Garage on the Low Road in Arishat, and to develop that as a tourist attraction. And that proposal has two main components. The first component is around the forge. We want to develop an area where local crafters and artisans can either set up shop or display their products, or maybe just demonstrate if they're not doing it as a commercial activity. So this would be a tourism attraction from a couple of senses. First of all, it's a tourism attraction because people like to see artists and artisans at work. It's a tourism attraction because we'd be trying to emphasize historical crafts. So what you have in effect is living history. And it's also a tourism attraction, I believe, because if you can develop the area around the forge, you have a beautiful setting during the summer months at least. The second component of that project is the building of a marina, and that particular part of that project is being done in conjunction with the Isle-Madame Boat Club. What we want to create is a first-class facility there where boaters can come in and take it. I guess what we're trying to do there is to create a facility for local boaters, first of all, but also a facility that would attract outside boaters who want to stop over on Isle-Madame, as we believe there's a significant number of recreational boats passing by Isle-Madame during the summer months.
The Lenoir Forge project is a tourism project. It's a project, I guess, that I think we feel is a good project, not only for Ayrshire but also for the island. The Lenoir Forge Museum is the only museum on the island. It's really the only known or marketed tourism attraction on the island that we've ever really had, I guess, you know, in the last 15 or 20 years. So I think the fact that we have a forge there that has lots of history behind it, the fact that last year was the first year in quite some time that we actually had a blacksmith working there, I think are really good things that we can build on. What we've done with the Lenoir Forge and Ayrshire Waterfront project, or what we foresee, is to build on our heritage. Ayrshire is really steeped in heritage, especially on the seafaring trades, and that's what we really want to bring back to the area, is that pride and that heritage and those things that made Ayrshire a very prominent and important community in the past. So we want to take those key things from the past and use them right now and in our future. And basically we want to use our heritage trades, the trades like blacksmithing, like crafting, all the crafting traits. We want to be able to use that down around the Ayrshire waterfront to build a good, very, not a large scale, but a good sized attraction for Ayrshire and the island. And I think it really fits in with our tourism strategy, in being that we want to pick certain things from certain communities and build on those things. We don't really want to build one large attraction in one area of the island and have people come into that attraction, see it, and then drive out again. What we'd like to see is small scale attractions in the different communities around the island, so that when people come onto the island, it's Isle-Madame that is then the attraction. It's not just one thing in one place on the island. So people come on the island, they go and see one attraction in one community and drive to the other community, see another attraction, and so forth. And for Ayrshire, we'd like the Lenoir Forge to be the focal point of attractions in Ayrshire. Besides the development around the forge, we'd also are partnering with the Isle-Madame Boat Club in developing a marina right next to the forge area, and I think that's again another added attraction and an added advantage to have a facility like a marina in place in Ayrshire that can attract then the boating tourist. And the fact that we are right next to Badore Lakes, we're on the eastern seaboard, not far from the American seaboard. We have a lot of opportunity there to build ourselves up and to build a tourism, the boating tourism sector.
To get everyone on the same page, DEMA has sponsored an Isle-Madame tourism seminar to unite tourism operators. Funding agencies and tourism broker representatives were invited to inform people of what they need from Isle-Madame to assist in developing a tourism industry. The seminar proved very favorable, resulting in a well-organized group devoted to tourism on Alma Dam.
We've never had to put a lot of time and effort in tourism because we always had a fisheries here. And all of a sudden we're trying to create a tourism industry immediately. It doesn't happen that way. It's a long, drawn-out process. But we've taken a number of steps because we really feel that there is some really good opportunities here because of the culture the history, the environment. Those are the three things that we really feel we have to sell here. And what we've done is, first of all, is the Coastal Zone Mapping Project. We've mapped out what we really have here. We felt that we really needed a body to work with. Because we're not involved in tourism, we needed to get in touch with the people who are, and we were successful in assisting the creation of Tourism Alma Dam by holding a one-day conference and basically bringing all the tourist operators together, and the end result was that they felt it made sense to pull together an organization that would try to foster tourism development here. So now that we have that organization in place, they are going off and doing a number of things as far as signage.
Through Tourism Alma Dam, we've done such things as the Alma Dam brochures. And Tourism Alma Dam is itself, we're part of that organization, and that organization is itself working on a number of worthwhile projects. For example, they've had this summer, they had the highway signage adjusted on the approaches to Alma Dam, the highway approaches, so that the word Alma Dam would actually be on those signs. They're currently working on a project to establish an entry point for Alma Dam. So what you'd have is an area if you're a tourist and you enter Alma Dam and you cross the bridge, as soon as you cross the bridge, you'd have a point there where you could gather information about Alma Dam and kind of arrange your trip to take advantage of some of the things that we have to offer on the island.
The small-scale manufacturing of crafts and arts is closely related, especially since we can use our culture, history, and scenery to develop the industry. This sector can exploit our manpower and natural skills and build a spirit of cooperation to help diversify our economy. Producción Picas, for example, trained 8 former fish plant workers to go from fish processing to painting beautiful scenes on vases, canvas, rocks, or glazes. Donna Boudreau used to work at the fish plant and now runs the business out of Sautre La Picas in Petit de Gras.
Producción Picas is a small enterprise here in Petit de Gras. We started off about 2.5 years ago. We started off, Renal was our artist, Renal Gozag, and he was already painting and doing a lot of selling worldwide, but he knew he couldn't keep up with the demand. So what we did is we wanted to expand, and we had offered people a chance to come in with us. And we started off with 4. We had 4 ladies, they were tax recipients, and we took them to train in PEI. They had 8 days of intensive training in PEI. And when we got back, that training was great, but we needed to train on the painting end of it also, not just the producing. So what we did is we went out looking for more people again, and we had Alvin, our liaison officer, that was helping us. And so we got 4 more people interested, and Renal gave the course. There were 8 of them, and he taught them how to paint. And through his generosity, we now can continue his hard work. Producción Picas has employed people on a part-time basis, and this is not what we're looking for. We'd like to get a full-time employment. We will be doing the Toronto Gift Show. That's one of the biggest in the world, and we'll be taking our product up there. And hopefully that we can create more employment through this, have to get more people involved, come in and train some more if it's possible. And throughout all this, we're really hoping that we can expand our business. We're looking at different projects that we'd like to diversify, really get into plates, we just started on the canvas, and we'd like to really do, and even get out of, we know that our pieces are, here goes my hands, we know that our pieces are quite unique. They're the old maritime Acadian fishing villages, but we'd also like to get sketches from around the area, like probably Green Island, Mouse Island, different things that we can offer people that would mean a lot to them because it's a part of them. And we're going to try to diversify in different areas.
In 1995, Greg's Fuels Limited proceeded with an offshoot business that manufactured home heating and light industrial oil tanks. AFL Tank Manufacturing was established, renting manufacturing space off Almaden. Now most of Greg's clients purchase from AFL rather than from Central Canada. As a result, AFL has had significant revenues between 1995 and 1997.
AFL Manufacturing is the company that I started about 2 years ago. We manufacture oil tanks for household and residential and commercial accounts, from a small residential oil tank to a major tank for fish plant, or anybody that want any size of tanks that they want, we can manufacture them. I had ran into a company in New Brunswick that owed me money, and they couldn't pay their bills, so I made them a suggestion: well, either give me the company or give me the money. And to them it was cheaper to give me the assets, because they weren't using it, than pay their bills. So I took the assets of that company and I started my own. And for me it was good because I was already in the oil business, and I had to take my products down from Quebec, so I found a need that I could fill, and I went after it. 90% of my business today in the oil industry is not surrounded around Almaden. Our company is a lot bigger in New Brunswick and the rest of the mainland than it is in Cape Breton. But I think I owe a lot of my success to the people of Almaden. That's why I chose always to stay here as part of my head office and hire people locally to as the company grew. I mean, you have to keep your head above water. If you every time you have a problem, if you fall down and you die, well, you're never going to be successful. You know, you got to take the problem and solve it, and you solve that problem right away. And you don't try to avoid the problem. You don't run away from it. And if you say, well, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll fix that problem later on, it's never going to get fixed. And then all of a sudden you have 2 and 3 and 4 problems, and the whole thing will knock you down. So that's how, you know, I've been able to cope with it.
Almaden will benefit from AFL tanks, and the government has stimulated economic growth by supporting a business with a proven track record. That is also the case for Junior Sampson, who left the fish plant to pursue opportunities in the lumber industry.
So I'm hoping this year is going to be better for me. So that's why I decided to hire 7 people, right? Because I mean, you can't. It's hard to have a business on your own. You have to have people, like, you have to have a team together. I mean, it takes a while, but I mean, if you can find the right people, then your business is going to go smooth, and it will succeed. The work could be, I have a mixed stuff. I can cut 2x4s. I'll do some pine siding. I'll do some boards, some 2x6, 2x8, 2x10. And then if people call me and they want a baby barn or a garage package, then I usually work on that. I do that, and then there's a lot of wood that I'm doing that's good for the kiln to dry. So that's where I put it. I put everything aside until I'm ready to load the kiln. I also go on the road. I do a lot of custom work for people, because there's a lot of people that have good logs in their land, and for them to turn around and to leave it go to the mill, they won't. They'll turn around, they'll save it, then they'll give me a call, or they'll give some people the people that do custom sawing on the road. They'll go there and then they'll cut their logs into products for them, and it's a big savings for them, because it's only costing them about 30%, 25-30% of what it's going to cost them in the stores. So I mean, it's very beneficial for them, and most of their product, like, they were worried that the product can't be used because of this that the building inspector is really strict. But I'm a qualified grader, so I can grade their stuff on the road, so which is good for them, right? And then there's a lot of people that were concerned about that. Like, I've done 2 or 3 jobs last year pertaining to that. I mean, and that was their big concern. I said, well, but that's not a problem. I'll go and I'll cut your stuff and I'll grade it, and then you can use it wherever you want to use it, right? Both of my mills that I have are portable, and they're both hydraulic, so no matter how big the logs are, it's never a problem to cut them. And I've seen going 2 and 3 miles down wood rows to cut the stuff. I mean, the only thing when I asked when people called to have the logs put a certain way and to put them close to the road, so I don't have to like maybe drive over stumps and that. But as long as they're accessible to me, and I know where they are, so when I'm going to the place, I know if I either have to turn around or if I have to back in. That's why I decided to because they were asking me if I wanted to put both my mills permanent setup, not being able to move them. I said I can't do that because when I started this business, it's the people on the road that kept me alive. So.
Since the collapse of the ground fishery, many displaced fishers and plant workers search for ways to maintain themselves in an industry that has been passed down from generation to generation. People like this, with DEMA, formed the Almadam Committee of Displaced Workers, or IMCOD. Many in this group are older or more committed fishermen who want only to fish and make an honest living.
There are some species out there that we have to take advantage of, there's no question. We have a wonderful operation here at the Clearwater Lobster Plant, for example. It's utilized to about 10% of its capacity. We've got to take advantage of that. Yet, if you look at the crab around Cape Breton Island, millions of tons of crab annually are shipped to New Brunswick for processing. If you look at the shrimp, hundreds of thousands of tons of shrimp are fished right off of our shores and shipped elsewhere for processing and for market. So there is no question in my mind that, yes, we have to get into those fisheries, the sea urchin, the shrimp, the skate wings, and in order to make them viable, I think what the government has to start doing is looking at broad-based fishing enterprises, so that if a fisherman from Almadam has a lobster license and you give him a few shrimp traps and a crab trap, or 3 or 4 crab traps, and you give him a license for sea urchin, then you've got a broad-based fishing enterprise that has a chance of success.
Government people have to realize that we're not looking for anything extra. We're looking for a fair share. These people are fishing off our coast, shrimp and crab, and what we're saying, we don't want to stop them from doing that, but we want a fair shake into this resource, into the market that's there. And if it means a few additional licenses, and combined with probably the fleet from New Brunswick, that we could start a processing plant in Petitograd, the old co-op that's currently owned by Premium Seafoods Limited. And this is something that we have to work hard at it and keep plugging at it and say, we're looking at resources that are there now. It's no use trying to go for the groundfish because the groundfish is not there yet. It might take another 5-10 years. But while we're waiting for the groundfish, I think we have to be more aggressive in certain ways, look at alternate means of survival, which means in the fishing industry, okay, let's look at shrimp and crab, like I mentioned.
When we found out that there were cuts to the tags program, there was a meeting held in Ayrshire at the hall, and people were really concerned, didn't know what was going to happen now that the program had been slashed, a year off of everybody's benefits, what were we going to do? Someone had to do something. So they decided there at that time to elect a committee to represent them, and there was a chairman, vice, whatever, elected from the committee. We had a different chair at the time, but due to other commitments, he could no longer keep up his role, so I assumed his role as chairman of the committee. The mandate of the committee was first and foremost to bring a community quota back to Almadam, because when Richmond Fisheries closed down, the owner left, and he has all rights now to the quota. We have nothing. We began asking help from several people on helping us do research into, did we ever own the quota here? Was it ever ours? We needed some kind of proof, documentation that it was a community quota so that we could go and fight with government to say we want it back. Through all the research, we haven't been able to find anything that can prove, or we have something to state our case with, that it is a community quota. So we decided, the committee decided, we would take another route. We came back to the people and told them, of our findings, and said, this is the route that we think we should follow now. Do you approve this route? And they did. So since that time, we've been pursuing bringing alternative fisheries to Alma Dam. We have a lot of people sitting on our committee, a broad range of people, from the processors to our local provincial rep, plant workers, trawlermen, president of the Inshore Fishermen's Association. So what we decided to do was that the fishermen were complaining and yelling that, and they have all right to, that right now there are 29 boats fishing off our shore, shrimp. They're taking our resources, they're taking them away from here, and we don't have access to any of those grounds. So what we did was we joined forces with Development Alma Dam, and Joelle Bone has been, I guess, the driving force and an integral part of the committee. He's actually does all the proposal writing and everything for us with our input. What we want in the proposal, he puts. But he does all the proposal writing, and he actually made the presentation to government, to DFO for us in Halifax. The proposal stated to the government that if they were to issue any new licenses, that the licenses should be issued to the people of Richmond County, to the fishermen of Richmond County. We got an indication from them at that meeting that there were going to be new licenses issued. So January 2nd, we submitted a new brief to them stating that we believe that all licenses should come to Richmond County. We haven't had any word back yet, but we're hopeful that they will accept a proposal on the grounds that we've given them. And there are a couple of reasons why we said we should have access to that stock and not give licenses to the present fishermen or any other communities till we get our fair share. So we're hoping that soon we'll have results back, and that the results will be positive for the community. Now, if we're successful in getting the shrimp licenses, enough shrimp licenses to open a plant, we have commitment from our local processor that, he will open the old Alma Dam Fishermen's Co-op and begin processing shrimp there. So that will pick up the people who were in the 50 age range or that weren't capable of going for training. That will be jobs for them. Not for me, but for them.
Emmett Boudreau was a trawlerman for almost 4 decades, but with the closure of the ground fishery, his livelihood was taken. To return to the way of life that generations before him have enjoyed, he has joined IMCOD to pursue a renewed fisheries by seeking quotas for underutilized species.
What they're doing now, they're giving everything to one guy, and 3 or 4 guys are getting rich, while the rest of us are getting poorer and poorer. So, but if they were the thing is, they're gonna have to learn to divide the fish that's out there between the fishermen. That's the only way we can survive. People are going to have to learn to share. I definitely don't want to get out of fisheries. It's been my life. I started in 1954, and 56 rather, and 41 years of it. I can't see myself working in an office or anywhere else but on the sea.
DEMA has taken a coordinating role working with the growers, St. Joseph's Credit Union, and local investors to improve aquaculture development. Joelle Bone, Development Officer, has helped create the Community Investment Fund. The credit union has sold self-directed RRSPs for the fund, with thousands of dollars raised and an additional fund in place.
Say we only have maybe
both Enterprise Cape Breton and Economic Development and Tourism have made farm assessments and attracted private investment.
Good number of people.
DEMA is working with other businesses to attract further investment, and La Collège de l'Acadie plans to offer a 3-year aquaculture course in 1998.
Aquaculture, there's been a number of I think, good things or positive things, projects that we've been involved with to help aquaculture or further aquaculture on the island. I think probably the most recent and bigger project that we've done or been a part of is the establishment of the Community Investment Fund. What we've seen in the last 2 years as some of the more advanced farms became or advanced more in their stages, I guess, of becoming a commercial operation, we're really seeing that there was a need for equity, that these farmers who've been working for 4 or 5 years have put everything in their business, blood, sweat, and tears in their business, and every bit of money that they could find in some cases. But it wasn't enough when it came to expansion. Government wanted more equity, and banks wanted more equity. And so a lot in certain cases of the farms that were more advanced, they kind of hit a brick wall when it came to that, because they didn't have any more money to put in. They put it all in already. So we really kind of thought to ourselves, well, how can we get money into these farms locally? And it goes back to a recommendation that was made from the IES and GTA report, was that there needed to be a way to access community money to do community development. And so I had worked on a project for development on Madam when I was with the Youth Corps, and that was to look at ways at setting up a community investment fund. So about last year or last spring, I kind of took that information that I'd researched off the shelf and dusted it off and looked at it and say, well, how can we set up an investment fund for aquaculture so that we can channel local money into local aquaculture projects? So what we did is we had a meeting with the farms and a meeting with potential investors, first of all, to see if there was a willingness by both sides to set up an investment fund. And there was people in the community who really wanted to see aquaculture being furthered and to create jobs, and they were willing to put money in. And the farms in need of money were willing for local community investors to invest in their farms. So after that meeting, it kind of became the starting point, and then like I said, I worked with the information I had researched a couple of years ago to try to come up with a model for doing just that. I think critically too, at the time we felt that there was a need to bring other organizations on side, and it was at that time that we looked to the St. Joseph's Credit Union to be a part of the project, and I think we owe them a lot for the establishment of the fund. We met with them, we discussed what the concept of a community investment fund was and how they could play a role. And I think, really without hesitation, they jumped in. They wanted to do something for the community. They wanted to get involved in community economic development, and they wanted to help us in aquaculture on the island. So we worked in partnership with St. Joseph's Credit Union and the people there to build a fund that would basically raise money from the community, and that money would go into the Community Investment Fund, which is now known as the Madam Community Investment Cooperative, and that money then, after being invested in the cooperative, would be invested into aquaculture farms around the island. So we raised money in the summer of last year, summer of '97, and then we took that money and invested into one farm so far. So we invested, out of 150,000 raised, we invested 100,000. We're looking to invest the remainder in the spring of '98. So I think it's been a worthwhile project, because now that money that was used, that money that was raised, that equity that was raised and put into farms, allowed those farms to go out and access money from government and create jobs. And that's really the two big things that we wanted to do.
Well, our credit union that did their strategic plan, and a big part of the strategic plan was we get involved in community economic development. And also our mission statement states the same thing, that we help to create employment on Amadam, and that's why when the Community Investment Fund came in, I attended a meeting with DEMA, and I thought it was a good idea. People could invest money locally in the cooperative investment fund versus having to invest outside with very little risk as far as I'm concerned. The role of the fund is to provide equity to existing aquacultural farms, and the purpose behind it is to create jobs on Amadam. They had some certain criteria they had to meet. I think there was 8 or 9 existing farms, and out of those 8 or 9, they had to be incorporated in order to qualify or even to apply to the investment fund, and they had to have an up-to-date investment plan or business plan.
Alan Savory has been experimenting with his own cages for scallop grow-out and has doubled his growth rates, causing interest from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. This could mean scallop cultivation can be cut from 5 to 2 years. Alan has received money from the Community Investment Fund, acquiring the necessary equity capital needed for operations and growth.
Now it's not so bad because I've developed something on my own that actually works. Before, in my first years of aquaculture, I seen no future in it, and I almost gave it up until I done some testing on my own to find a better way to grow them. The way that I'm doing it now seems to be the right way to do it. It's starting to look up pretty good here now. We got about 14 people working here, like all winter. And in the spring it'll probably cut back to about 6. And then next winter it'll be the same thing again until I get about 2 million scallops on the farm. Once we get that in place and grown out, we should be good, should be all right. Department of Fisheries got involved when I designed the cage back in '94. Like, we weren't getting a good growth rate in the Japanese lanterns. I find the mortality rate was awful high, and that's when I knew I had to do something with it. So I designed this cage, and I just tried it on my own for about 3 months, just to see if it wouldn't make any difference, and it did over this 3-month period. So we got some biologists down from the Department of Fisheries through a cooperative agreement. A guy by the name of Ken Freeman, he's a biologist for Department of Fisheries, and Andrew Bagnall. These people are involved with PCAS right now. And they came down and they done a test over a 3-month period, and the meat count was 20% higher in my cage than the Japanese lantern. So ever since that, they've been testing ever since. This started in '95 and we're still testing. Like all these people in there, they're pretty devoted to the island themselves. Joel, Jason, Gary Sampson, all these people. They're pretty devoted to getting everything going. As far as myself, they set up the Community Investment Fund, which helped me. That's what got me started up, where I want it to be. And now we're shooting for the 2 million I was saying before. Well, these people are helping me put that in place. And they've been a real big help as far as business goes, and on the aquaculture side itself. Like, they're pretty knowledgeable people.
As aquaculture can change the fishing industry, information technology can change the way business is conducted and give Almadam a foothold in a growing industry. Talil is one such agency to promote local businesses and groups, have locals communicate with each other, and inform the general public. Talil shares a common history with DEMA, as both were born from the IES process, and both have persevered through initial growing pains to thrive on Almadam.
The first meeting that on record, it was in December of 1993. By March of 1994, they had secured a lot of the funding for the training. By May 9th of 1994, we were actually in class, 14 people being trained. There was no studio to work from. We were working from the Ayrshire Parish Hall at the time, and this building that we're in now, Talil, had been purchased but needed a great deal of renovation, and it wasn't fit for us to come into yet. So we started in May, and we moved into the studio in early summer, late spring, and started working out of the studio space. We started broadcasting in July of 1994, and the course finished in December of 1994. So we were kind of on our own after that. When Talil started in 1995, we had quite a few employees that obviously would have loved to have kept all of them, but just couldn't because of the finances of the situation. You have to be a financially viable group. So because some people couldn't wait for a permanent job, and because some people didn't feel that this is where they wanted to be, others moved on to other areas and other jobs. People came and went. And right now we have 4 employees, 2 full-time and 2 part-time. And the 4 employees that are here are 4 of the original trainees. We are in a process of rebuilding, in a sense, because we just finished a large project, Towns and Villages of Cape Breton, and we're in a process of getting back to the mandate of community programming and improving our whole setup to do community programming and to do other things in the studio. Tallil has a future that's only limited by the people that work for it. There is no limit for what Tallil can do. If people come in here and decide that it's going to be broadcast worldwide via satellite, it can be done because the technology is there for us to do that. That's not where we're going to go. What I'd like to see is the future of Tallil personally, and I believe what the board would like to see is that we, instead of being broadcast over community cable as we are now, we'd be broadcast over low-powered television. Therefore, we would be like ATV and CBC. If you didn't have cable, like people do where I live in Jarman's Island, as well as in Rocky Bay, parts of Discoos, all over Almadam, and parts of Loosedale, which is our coverage area, people just cannot get us because they don't have cable. And they will never have cable because they live in remote areas and the cable will just never go to them. And I feel that that's a real problem, and I'm hoping that we will get in our mandate to be broadcasting over UHF or VHF. Therefore, we can reach all the homes in Almadam and Loosedale and do what really we were designed to do, which was be a communications link for Almadam. Because when we do that, we would still be carried over community cable because they would have to carry us. So people that have us on cable would still have us on cable, which is good. But people that don't have us would be able to pick us up, which is also good. So I'm kind of hoping that's the direction that we're going into, as well as improving our community cable shows that we're going to be doing. We're setting out a whole new program.
The Island Society of Traditional and Original Musicians, or ISTOM, also shared its origins with Tallil. They too have suffered growing pains, but now at the Arishat Parish Hall, they have recorded hours of music and helped the careers of local musicians with their state-of-the-art recording studio.
I took a program in audio technology engineering up in Toronto at an institute called Trebas. And that entailed the science of sound, somewhat into the physical aspects of sound and how it's created, and also of recording musicians for CD programming or television and radio programming. It simply started from a group of music lovers and fans joined together on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, and out of thin air, it was decided, well, let's just make a kind of a group. And that was as simple as its existence came into being. We just finished the Singing Woodsman. We're proud of that because it's totally live instrumentation. There is no use of computer programming music for background. So we're proud of that one. That entailed a lot of work. But there has been other CDs released. The Nectario has a release slated for the summer on her French album, and of course Blair's Kid Brothers album was recorded here. There is a project in the making that may be finished this year.
During the IES process, it was noted that Almadam had little or no access to computers. To ensure that we do not lag behind, En Route Almadam was established as a community access site for those who would not have had access to such capabilities.
En Route Almadam is what's called a community access site. It was started through funding from Industry Canada. Industry Canada's goal is by the year 2000 to have 5,000 of these sites in rural communities across Canada. We're one of the lucky ones because somehow a lady from our community named Reed Wooby got wind. She was working for the Literacy Council at the time, got wind that this program was coming down. So our CAP funding, or Community Access Site funding, was actually in the very first round of funding because of Reed Wooby. So she got in touch with Dave Forgeron, who in turn got in touch with a bunch of local community organizations, educators, business people, brought this group of people together, explained to them what community access was, how it would benefit the community, and that they could apply for this funding through Industry Canada for a $30,000 grant to set up a site in Ayrshire. It took about 2 years to get 2 years from the initial meeting that took place till the time the site opened its doors this year to get up and running. There were a lot of obstacles that the committee had to overcome, and for those reasons the CAP site didn't get started as fast as they would have hoped. But we officially opened the doors July 31st of this year, and since that time I've been hired, actually July the 7th, as coordinator through a company in Port Hawkesbury called Straight East Nova Community Enterprise Network, as coordinator for the site. And right now, En Route on Madame site, which is the name of the CAP site, is leading or in the top of the category of any other CAP site in Nova Scotia. So things have really been happening, and there are endless possibilities for the CAP site. I'm really excited about all the things that are happening. Industry Canada's definition of a smart region is a region that relies on cooperation, shared resources, and shared goals to attract and retain people, jobs, and businesses to the region. So we've decided that under that criteria, we are a smart region, and we're going to declare ourselves one. And if we're accepted by Industry Canada as a smart region, and all indications show that we will be, because we're the only network that's doing what we're doing, it could mean millions and maybe billions of dollars in resources to our communities because we are a smart region. I've also been fortunate to find funding, government funding, to hire a person at our CAP site that works full-time with me. And I'm hoping that there'll be many other jobs that I'll be able to create. Industry Canada has a program called Digital Collections, where they want to collect Canadian content and put it on the World Wide Web. They'll pay us up to $25,000 to collect this content and put it on the web. So that's their primary goal. Their secondary goal, though, is to give the jobs to young people between the ages of 15 and 30 who have problems. They go get educated, but no company wants to hire them because they don't have work experience. So our goal will be to apply for several of those digital collections. We're a center in the high school in Ayrshire. We have presently 8 workstations, or 8 computers, that are all on a local area network. They're all linked together. We're connected to the internet. We have direct access to a 56K line that runs to the internet. We provide services to the community such as printing, faxing, scanning. We provide courses. We've done community education courses for the community at large. We've done training for private businesses. People can walk into the access site, sit down at a computer, and if you're a member for $1 an hour, you can do whatever you want. You can be on the internet, you can be typing a report, a resume, and if you're a member, it costs $1 an hour. So our goal is to provide cheap, affordable, and high-quality access to the information highway for the residents of Almadam and the surrounding region.
The Tradewinds call center also lies in the information technology sector. Businesses in the 90s are looking for a way to increase performance and cut costs, and the telephone is becoming the biggest tool in business. One strength of the island is our large bilingual workforce. DEMA has formed a strategic partnership with an Ontario company, Vocatex Limited. Vocatex has a 10% stake in the project, with DEMA retaining 90% control. Vocatex sees DEMA as their outsourcing option to companies. DEMA gets their established marketing network. They get a business function to increase their overall business package. The call center is housed at La Picasse and opened for business in October 1997. DEMA has employed 8 trainees who completed a 26-week teleservice course at Le Collège de l'Acadie.
The two presidents of Vocatex, Leanne and Graham, they were attracted here because they actually have family that live in Nova Scotia. And I think they were looking to retire somewhere in Nova Scotia. I don't think Almadam was really pinpointed, but I think that was one of the main attractions. And of course, then once they read a little more and discovered a little more, that definitely was an attraction. They're a call center support company. They offer all sorts of everything from technical support to software support, scripting, PR work, marketing work. They do a number of things. We're pursuing a number of different contracts at the moment. We're looking into right now Ontario Health Services. We're currently competing for a contract with them, basically a 1-800 number. At the moment we have 2 other contracts that are coming into play that we have basically been narrowed down to their choice. But there's a number of things. I'd say at any given time we're competing for about a dozen different contracts. On an average day when there are employees in the center, we'd be making outgoing calls at the moment for all sorts of different companies. Everything from, for example, with the United Way, everything from asking for donations, or, for example, surveys we do as well. Basically, there are hundreds of things that a call center can do in activities, and we are at Tradewinds capable of doing all of them. So basically, on a daily basis, they change depending on who we're working for and what we're working with. I think in the next couple of weeks, if you were to come into the center, there would be a number of people answering phones for 1-800 numbers, people calling in, looking for information, looking for products, looking to buy products, looking to get service for their products. I think it was very important for the call center to be bilingual because that is one of our largest selling points. We are one of the only call centers in the country that is completely and functionally bilingual. I think it's one of our biggest selling points when going to clients, especially the clients that we have from Canada, because it's very rare that you can find a call center which is completely bilingual. I think a lot of call centers are running out of a French work pool. I think they're running out of French agents. They're having to pay them double what they pay the English agents because of the 2 languages. So I think for us, having a large unemployed workforce here on the island that is bilingual is a great selling point because our work pool that we can draw out of is unlimited almost, and it's one of our biggest selling points to other companies.
Now that it is clear what is going on in Almadam, the only question left to answer is, what will Almadam be like in the next century? Most answers were quite optimistic.
There's always hope, because if you have a negative attitude, then there's no hope. And it's the same like I mentioned before. I think that I got negative responses when I contacted the federal fisheries minister. I got negative responses when I contacted the provincial fisheries minister. But I didn't give up. I keep sending letters on a regular basis. And as a matter of fact, as recent, September, I think, I requested a meeting with the federal fisheries minister. Requested one with the provincial. And regarding quota for cod, groundfish. And I know the groundfish is not there yet, might take 5 years, but I want to get my foot in there before, if they decide in 2 years' time that yes, we're going to open certain cod banks, I want Almadam or the community of Petite to be included in this.
With all the different projects that have been happening and the projects that we're working on now, and also projects that could potentially be there in the future, I really feel optimistic about the chances for the island in the next 5 to 10 years. I think because of the fact that the fisheries crisis came so sudden and really shook a lot of people, or woke a lot of people up to the fact that, you know, if you have something one day, it could be gone the next, and the fact that you should never rely on one thing like the fisheries so heavily like we did in the past. I think it made a lot of people open their eyes more to that fact, and so right now I think just because of the fisheries crisis and the planning process and diversifying out of the fisheries, I think has left us in a better situation, at least. The fact that there are people in other sectors besides fishing that are living and making a living on the island, and you see more and more each day people doing something outside of the fisheries and making a living at it. So I think that the seeds have been planted, but like anything else, you can't change anything overnight. You can't change a way of life or an economy in 1 or 2 years. So things take time, and I think over the next 4 to 5 years, as things start smoothing out, you'll see the real benefits of what's been done in the last few years, diversifying, you know, the working on the other strategic sectors actually really paying off.
The economy will be significantly different. I hope that our lifestyle and our values and our sense of community will be the same as it is now, because I think we have an excellent quality of life and an excellent sense of community. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here on Almadam.
I see Almadam being an economic viability in the area of aquaculture, in the area of tourism, and also in small manufacturing industry. I see some of these things coming in, and one will grow off the other. And we were a very solid seaport once, and I think that with the right combination of tools working side by side, we can achieve that economic viability and also keep the quality of life that we have on the island, which is very important.
I hope that Development Almadam will soon not have any job work to do, because there will be no more development to do in Almadam. But I guess the future that I see for it in the short term is that we have some businesses that are up and running. People are working at them, and they can be kind of cut off eventually and left to work on their own. And Development Almadam can move into other venues and areas and continue to do small-scale development as the community sees fit.
I don't want to see this place lose its way of living, but I just want to see it get better. Of course, with getting more jobs and stuff, the population will be more, but I hope that they preserve it, and I think it will happen. I mean, like I said, you have La Picasse, who's going to be bringing in people. It's a French college. A lot of the younger people are going to stick around and go to school, so they're going to stay here. And then hopefully there'll be jobs created in tourism, in technology, that will keep them here. That the businesses like Trade Winds and all of these businesses will take off, and then there'll be jobs for the young people to keep this place going. I don't want to see it a retirement place. It's too beautiful for that. You need to have people here, and it's great.
I don't see Almadam just surviving. I really see Almadam thriving in the collapse of the fishery, and it's certainly not the collapse of the fishery didn't make Almadam survive, but I think it was a real wake-up call, and all that resiliency we talked about before is really coming to the forefront, and the people here are really digging their heels in and making sure that they know it's a very special place with special people who do wonderful work, and I find that they're all working together to make sure that that's going to happen. And in fact, when you take what we call the Almadam situation and you put it alongside of almost any other situation that has been through this kind of economic disaster, Almadam shines as a model, as a way that people react and take on the issues and take on the problems and make them their own and work them through to support their own community. And it's a real example for people everywhere, and people are looking at the way people here do things to see if they themselves can't do them in that way. It's really hard to see into the future, and we can't tell for sure, but the way everything is going, and if things continue to go that way and with the support of the people, that I really feel that Almadam will not only survive, that it will thrive and continue to be an example and a wonderful place to live.
Others have a positive outlook in the initiatives put in place by Development Almadam.
In 10 years down the road, you're going to see a big change now in Almadam. The aquaculture farms are going to explode, I think, because that for itself speaks for itself, because you talk to them and they seem to be doing fine, and the stuff with the call center, I think that's going to do all right, and Telil should do good. So I think in 10 years it'll be booming. I think everybody will be working, and hopefully there won't be, hopefully there won't be a shortage of people to work. That's what I hope. I hope that Almadam don't lose contracts or work because they can't fill the vacancies that are there for the people. That's what I hope, that's what I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that, the work that does come here, I hope there is people to fill in the vacancies, and then you're going to see big things happen. That's what I hope.
I'd say in the next 5 to 10 years, I think Almadam will become one of the economic hotspots in Nova Scotia. And there's a number of reasons for that. I think our proximity to the Strait area, I think, is going to help us, because the natural gas, I think, in all likelihood, will come to the Strait area. We're very hopeful that we could hopefully see a petrochemical industry develop from that. And I think that will mean that you're going to be getting a lot of construction work. You're going to be getting a lot of, even after it's set up, you're talking, hundreds and hundreds of jobs, if not 1,000 or so, in that industry itself. And these people are going to need places to live, and Almadam being, a 20 to 25 minute commute is going to be an ideal place. We have all the infrastructure here in terms of water, sewer, education. We have facilities here like a beautiful countryside, and I think all those factors are going to play well. Besides that, I think you're going to see Almadam itself, because of the aquaculture and tourism and the manufacturing, I think we're going to be able to do ourselves, not to mention the telecommunication aspects of the industries that are going to be developed through Telil and probably the Picasse. I think it speaks well for Almadam for the future. And I think what's happening now is the fact that whereas before it was outside people who were looking at the possibilities, I think now we're seeing more and more our own people coming up with their ideas of what they feel is important and how they want to develop it. And I think that's going to be the key for us developing Almadam in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think Almadam will continue to grow in the next 15 to 20 years with information technology and the internet. I think our young people will be able to get good sustainable jobs locally and will stay. And I think you'll also see some of the baby boomers that have moved away over the years and moving back to Almadam to retire.
I think the island will be all right. If you have people like Dima that are pushing steady all the time, and you got the people out there that want to see the island prosper, I think the island's going to be just fine.
Some have hoped that trends occurring elsewhere would occur here.
Many people have moved from the mindset of being only employees to realizing that if the community is going to succeed and be viable, that they have to take charge of their own destiny, whether it's in the form of starting their own business or whether it's in the form of being involved in community economic development or one of the projects that's going on in the community. I think that's one thing that's happened. The second thing is, as people have made the transition out of the fisheries, a lot of people have realized that they're good at a whole lot of things, not just cutting fish. People have realized some of the talents that probably they didn't even know they had because of the training, the opportunities for training and retraining that have been offered to them. So that's another attitudinal shift that I think has taken place for many people on Isle Madame. And the third thing I'd say is that I think there's an increased sense in the community. I wouldn't call it complacency, but I guess when the fish plant was in place, there was a sense that you really didn't have to work and struggle as hard. And I'm talking about the community here, not individuals. You really didn't have to work and struggle as hard because there was, you know, the fish plant was pumping over $10 million a year into the local economy through its payroll. So, you know, every organization had a bingo and every organization made money, and there was no incentive for organizations and communities to cooperate, to work together. And I think now people realize that if we're going to come through this crisis, or many people realize that if we're going to come through this crisis, if we're going to survive, if we're going to do the things that we have to do to survive on Isle Madame, that we have to work together, we have to pool our resources, we have to help one another wherever we can. And I think that attitude is finally, slowly starting to come to the fore on Isle Madame. Certainly most of the people that I deal with on a daily basis have that attitude.
Something that's very important for the community, from my perspective and a development perspective, is that the community really has to work together. And I really believe from the past experience I've had in community economic development is that when you look inside your community, it's unbelievable the amount of resources that are available in your own community and the people that are there and willing to help just for the asking. So it's really important that people pass on the message to other people, other groups, to help as much as they can, because it's really important for the survival of our community. And if we all work together, sky's the limit.
Just based on the growth that I've seen over the last 3 to 4 years, based on what I see happening amongst not just Development Isle Madame, other community groups that are all getting involved in not social development, economic development, based on individuals starting up their own businesses, and based on just some of the things that I'm hearing that could be up and coming, I have a real sense of optimism for the area, and really happy to be a part of what's coming.
There is a sense of optimism running through Isle Madame these days. Memories of docked boats and the fish plant ruins still linger, but now displaced workers are designing their own website, painting vases, cutting siding, working as telemarketers, opening their own photography studio, or caring for the elderly. This change is remarkable, considering that just a few years ago, Isle Madame had neither the incentive nor the capabilities to get people into the career paths of their choosing. By adopting the principles of community economic development, Isle Madame has provided its unemployed, local businesses, and communities with a wider array of choices in which to improve our financial situation. In working with government, Development Isle Madame is getting the island working again, and working together as an island. More reasons to believe the Isle Madame experience is a shining example for other communities to follow.